Yes, folks, it's Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton. That's me, by the way. Do please like and subscribe. It's dead simple to do it and it helps. And also, I do appreciate your comments, whether they're insulting, intimidating, or thoughtful. I really do appreciate them and I will respond. Alright, now I'm going to talk today about how the prisons are in such a terrible mess. We've got vast overcrowding and understaffing. Well, the understaffing is due to the fact that the wage rate has just slipped away, completely slipped away from where it was when I was in. Because as I've said before, the last 12 months I served in the prison service ended in 1985. So for 1984 to 1985, my wage for that 12-month period was £17,500. Now today, the same wage, £17,500, when you take into inflation and all the rest of it, that would be worth approximately £55,000 in today's rate. But what are the prison staff getting? They're getting something in the region of 25 to 30,000. So it's drastically dropped behind. Plus the attractiveness of the work has vanished. I mean, when I was a hospital officer. I actually trained with the NHS for a period of time and with the Home Office Nursing School, and it was an interesting job. And it was also what I considered to require a certain degree of skill. But all those jobs have been eradicated now. Even the works department is with outside contractors. The nursing is done by National Health Service nurses who are employed by the Home Office. They no longer have hospital officers. And believe me, the hospital officers were an essential part of the prison system, because you get inmates kicking off. We had means of dealing with them. I agree absolutely that it was possibly a little bit iffy to go grabbing blokes and forcibly injecting them with Largactil, chlorpromazine, you name it, we gave it to them. But that was the orders from above, the direct orders of the senior medical officer and the governor, and basically hospital staff just did what they had to do. Well, they did it effectively. I could see all this was going to crash and burn, because the writing was on the wall. Because when I joined the prison service, I applied in 1974, and the wage rates for prison officers were exceeding those of a police constable. So you got paid more to be a prison officer than you did to be a police officer. And you look at where that's at now. Yeah, mind you, the police force has gone down the drain. How many chief constables? 10 chief constables have been required to resign, or have resigned voluntarily recently in the last 12 months because of misconduct in public office. We had that guy, I think he was from Northumberland, I believe he was, who was inventing a senior military career for himself. Said he'd been fighting in the Falklands War, except at the time of the Falklands War he would have been 10 years of age. So I wonder what he was doing then, with his little, probably got a catapult or something like that to fire at them. So when we go back in time to 1978-79, when I was actively trying to tell the prison staff that if we didn't do something about this, we were quickly going to be reduced to being mere turnkeys. That is, all our specialist tasks would be allocated to outside groups, and that the prison service would be little more than locking them up. And including the fact that they've removed the courts from the prison service. They no longer actually run the courts. It's run by a private security company, I believe. When I was in the prison service, ran for a period of time. I was a dock officer at the number 1 court at the Old Bailey. That was an interesting job. That was interesting work. When you see the Old Bailey and you see the dock, directly inside the dock there's a staircase that leads down, and within 5 yards of the end of that staircase are the cells, and that's where they get thrown in if they kick up. There was plenty of people did try violence in the prisons at the time, but we as prison officers had the solution. They don't seem to have that solution today. That, I believe, is because of the hostess system. Now, whoever dreamed up that idea has got to be seriously delusional. You cannot put young women to lock up alpha males in prison cells and not expect to have results, negative results, which is what is happening today. So I set out to do something about it and try to form a proper trade union, not one that's run by the management for the management. And indeed, that's what the Prison Officers Association was. It had chief officers. The treasurer of the Prison Officers Association, when I took them on, was the number 1 chief officer of Dartmoor Jail. And I went to see him and said, I want to examine your books. Well, he didn't allow me to do that. He said, no, he said, you've seen the report in the magazine. They published a monthly magazine. He said, that's all you're getting. I said, well, we'll find out about that. So, because what they've been doing is lending themselves money from the funds of the Prison Officers Association. So all the fees that you were paying into the trade union were going into a central bank, and from that central bank they had lent themselves hundreds of thousands of pounds, lent it to themselves. And that was at the time that interest rates were around about 15%. So they'd lent themselves money at a disadvantageous rate, disadvantageous to the members of the Prison Officers Association, thereby obtaining a pecuniary advantage. And so when the treasurer, the national treasurer of the Prison Officers Association, declined to allow me to examine the books, which was my right as a member of the Prison Officers Association, I went to see the fraud squad at Scotland Yard, and they began an investigation into the POA. You can look it up. There'll be press cuttings in the Telegraph. It was covered in the Guardian. It caused a tremendous amount of concern at the time because the prison staff were being robbed. And I said, we can't have this. And it's run by senior officers, principal officers and chief officers. Indeed, Strangeways Prison Officers Association was run by a man called Brian Baldwin, who was not only a principal officer, he was also the leader of the Northwest faction of the National Front. And I just believe that this was not in the best interests of basic grade prison staff to allow this to happen, because they were just running it downhill. And there was, as I said, no representation. So I went and made a formal complaint to the certification office. And we have it. That's my letter I received from the certification office, as you can see. Every registered trade union requires a certificate of independence from the certification office, and I set out to have the certificate of independence removed from the Prison Officers Association because they were not independent of management. They were entirely reliant upon the governor to use his premises for meetings. They had no telephones, they had no regional offices. basically it was run by the Home Office for the Home Office. And that's why the prison service is in the disarray that it's in today, because there was no checks and balances, nothing that the basic staff could do to actually speak out against the denigration of the system and the disgrace that it has now become. If I had been the chairman of the Prison Officers Association at Strangeways and they'd said we're going to introduce the hostess system, I'd say, yeah, that's all right, but we won't be working there. We'll stand outside the jail and let you get on with it. Yeah, bring the Beverley sisters in, the Tiller girls, but don't involve the members of my trade union. But it didn't happen, did it? And what did happen? Well, you've seen what's happened. It's out of control. The gangs are running it now. Now, it's that time of day, folks. Yeah, and that's the song dinger, by the way. And we've had a request for a specific song from a guy who regularly contributes on here, usually by issuing rather strange comments. But I enjoy it. Yeah, keep going. It's Larry the Goatherd from Rotherham, and he's requested a song that's obviously dear to his heart. This is originally sung by Val Doonican, as I remember it anyway, and it's Paddy McGinty's Goat. Because Larry, of course, as you probably have heard me previously discuss, he's a big fan of the goats. Yeah, I think he's got a goat anyway. Here we go. Now, Patrick McGinty, an Irishman of note, fell into a fortune and bought himself a goat. Says he's sure of goat's milk, I mean to have me fill. But when he got the nanny home, he found it was a bill. Now all the young ladies who live in Killaroo are all wearing bustles like their mothers used to do. They each wear a bolster beneath the petticoat, and leave the rest to Providence and Paddy McGinty's goat. Miss Burke said to her daughter, now listen, Mary Jane, who was the man you were cuddling in the lane? He'd long wiry whiskers hanging from his chin. 'Twas only Pat McGinty's goat, she answered with a grin. They went away from the village in disgrace. She came back with powder and paint upon her face. She'd rings on her fingers, she wore a sable coat. I'll bet your life she didn't get that from Paddy McGinty's goat. Now Noah McCarthy the knot was going to tie. She washed all her trousseau and hung it out to dry. Along came the goat, and he saw the bits of white. He chewed up all the folderols upon her wedding night. Oh, turn out the light quick, she shouted out to Pat, for though I'm your bride, sure I'm not worth looking at. I got two of everything I told you when I wrote, but now I've won another note through Paddy McGinty's goat. There you go. Patrick McGinty's goat. There's a little bit more if you want it. Okay. Oh, Mickey Riley went to races t'other day. He won $20 and he shouted, hip, hooray! He held up the note shouting, look what I've got. The goat came up and grabbed it and swallowed all the lot. He's eaten me banknote, said Mickey with the hump. They went for the doctor, he got a stomach pump. They pumped and they pumped for that $20 note, but all they got was 9pence out of Paddy McGinty's goat. Now old Paddy's goat had a wondrous appetite, and one day for breakfast he ate some dynamite. A big box of matches he swallowed all serene, and out he went and swallowed up a quart of paraffin. He sat by the fireside, he didn't give a hang, swallowed a load of spark and exploded with a bang. So if you go to heaven, you can bet your dollar note the angel with the whiskers on is Paddy McGinty's goat. Or it could be Larry's goat, actually, because you never know, do you? Absolutely. Hope you enjoyed that, folks. Tales from the Jails. This is John G. Sutton on a Sunday, unusually. I thought I'd do it, seeing as it's a bank holiday tomorrow. Have a great time. Do like and subscribe, and don't forget to read my books, folks.